Now, it's a global language used by nearly 2 billion people across the world. 1,500 years ago, though, only 3 tribes spoke English. How has it become as far-reaching as it is today?
Yes, maybe it's another export. We're talking about China there, but maybe language is another export. Joining us is Professor Bill Lucas. He's researched the places that have most influenced the language and is now part of a campaign to find more places which have left their mark on it. And he's joining us because today is English Language Day. Good morning to you.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Naga.
Morning. So, English Language Day, what should we learn from that?
We should enjoy the English language and celebrate its every twist and turn, because you may not realise that in 1362, some 2 centuries after the Normans had invaded, it was still not legal to speak English in Parliament. So on the 13th of October in 1362, the Chancellor of Parliament stood up and for the first time spoke in English. Before then it had been French, or I guess there might have been a bit of Latin. So it took a time, 200 years, even to be an accepted language here in England. What's
so special about English? Because it's got to be regarded as special, considering how widely spoken it is. How does it convert? How does it travel so well?
It's the language of Shakespeare. It's the language of Johnson. It's the language of Joyce. And it's so lively, so full of life. It's coining new words. There are a million words now. You probably, as well-spoken, well-educated people, have some 50,000 words in your vocabulary. And interestingly, the link to the previous item might be you could have thought that Mandarin would have been the global lingua franca. And I guess that's partly because of the huge number of Chinese characters, but also, although Mandarin is very widely spoken, it's essentially spoken in China, whereas English is now the second language of choice. So sometime during the last decade, there became more speakers of the English language as a second language than those of us who speak it as the first language.
I was going to ask. I mean, English has been a dominant language around the world over the last few decades, but I wonder whether, looking forward, it will be Chinese or Spanish or Portuguese that become in the ascendant. Do you worry that English maybe doesn't have such a dominant place in the future?
I don't worry. I think it probably will, and I think the simple answer is the internet, really. But, you know, watch this space. And we've gone back a long while. I mean, the story, as far as we're concerned, and we've just researched this, the English Project, in a book called A History of the English Language in 100 Places. And the story really starts, as far as England is concerned, in a field in Suffolk in the 5th century, where we discovered it's a beautiful little pendant, a little gold pendant. You can see it in the British Library. And for the first time, you can see English written, albeit in runic form. Now, I guess fast forward to the item I mentioned now, and our 100th place is in Vienna, where there's an extraordinary database of more than 1 million words spoken by people for whom English is their second language. And we're really hoping that your wonderful viewers will have their own creative ideas for which might have been the place that has most shaped the English language.
So what are you wanting from us, from the viewers? What do you want to find out?
We want your viewers to think which place, either because perhaps somebody important lived there, or a battle took place, or it was where English landed in another country, because 40 of the places are global. Which place has shaped the world? Go to our website, www.englishproject.org, log on and tell us which your landmark of English is.
When you see English in a new place, it evolves, doesn't it? Are you a purist? Do you like to see English in its most traditional form, or do you embrace new words?
I embrace
variations of words.
I embrace new words. You can't. Language is a force. It's like it's a wonderful river coursing its way across the world. As far as educationally, and by the way, this would be a great education project for maybe young people studying A-level or equivalent, to think which their place would be. Young people need to know the different registers of English. So we need to know. One of our places is, of course, Portland Place. So in 1926, Lord Reith was issuing very clear guidance. You, of course, both speak the language beautifully, but had you been working for the BBC in 1926, I don't know if you still have a pronunciation guide. I doubt it.
We do.
We do.
We do. It's online really? Now. Yeah.
OK. Well, there's an extraordinary variety of dialects and accents on the BBC now, which is part of the glory of English. So no, I'm not a purist, Naga.
I bet you text really properly, though, don't you?
I do find myself emailing quite properly.
Yeah.
Good,
Bill, thank you
good.
very much
I
indeed.
agree with that. Bill, thank you very
We'll
much.
talk about
Thank
that
you.
again in a couple of hours. So if you've got any points, places as well, you can go to our website and get in touch in the usual way, and we'll read some of those out a bit later.